For 100 years, three countries ran the global car industry. Germany gave us Mercedes and Volkswagen. Japan gave us Toyota and Honda. America gave us Ford and General Motors. These weren't just car brands, they were national symbols. The pride of entire economies, tens of millions of jobs, generations of engineering excellence. Then, in the space of just 3 years, something happened that nobody in Detroit, Stuttgart, or Tokyo saw coming. Mercedes profits down 28%, Porsche bottom line collapsed 92% in a single year. Stellantis, the group behind Jeep, Peugeot, and Fiat, posted a $26 billion loss, the worst in its history. Volkswagen announced 50,000 job cuts, the largest restructuring in the company's 7-year history. And behind every single one of these blows, the same name keeps coming back: BYD. A company that, until 2003, was making nothing but batteries. A company so irrelevant that when Elon Musk was asked about them in 2011, he laughed out loud on live television. Today, BYD sells more electric cars than anyone on the planet. More than Tesla, more than Volkswagen, more than anyone. But here's the question nobody is asking loudly enough. Is this a genuine revolution, or is something else going on entirely? Because depending on who you ask, BYD is either the greatest industrial success story of the 21st century or a $100 billion house of cards built on government money, hidden debt, and numbers that don't quite add up. Let's go through the facts, and you can decide for yourself. Wang Chuanfu was 29 years old in 1995 when he borrowed $40,000 from his cousin and rented a small workshop in Shenzhen, China, to make rechargeable batteries. Within 7 years, he was supplying Motorola and Nokia. By 2003, BYD was the largest battery manufacturer in the world. Then Wang did something that shocked everyone who knew him. He took that battery money and bought a bankrupt, state-owned car factory in the middle of nowhere. His own investors tried to stop him. BYD's stock dropped by the equivalent of $350 million in 2 days. The Chinese financial press called it a joke. A battery guy walking into one of the most expensive, most complicated industries on earth. Wang Chuanfu didn't even have a driving license at the time. But his logic was different from everyone else's. He didn't believe the future of the car was the engine. He believed the future of the car was the battery. And nobody on earth understood batteries better than him. What happened next took 15 years. While journalists laughed at his early models, while Elon Musk mocked him on television, Wang was quietly making 3 decisions that would eventually change the entire industry. Decision 1. Build everything yourself. Tesla buys batteries from Panasonic. Volkswagen depends on hundreds of outside suppliers for chips, motors, electronics, even the glass. BYD decided to manufacture everything in-house: batteries, semiconductors, motors, power electronics, software, even the windshields and headlights. When the global chip shortage paralyzed the auto industry in 2021, BYD kept delivering. When lithium prices exploded, BYD was already mining its own in Tibet and South America. Every crisis that destroyed competitors made BYD stronger. Decision 2. Bet on plug-in hybrids while everyone else chased pure electric. In California, a hybrid sounded like a compromise. But in a country of 1.4 billion people where charging stations barely existed outside major cities, it was the only thing that made practical sense. By the time BYD was selling more plug-in hybrids than Tesla was selling EVs total, the Western press was still debating whether hybrids were even a real technology. Decision 3. The blade battery. In 2020, BYD released a completely different battery chemistry: lithium iron phosphate, instead of the nickel cobalt mix everyone else was using. Cheaper to produce, doesn't catch fire, lasts longer. The result? BYD could sell cars at a lower price than Tesla and genuinely claim a safety advantage at the same time. 4 years later, Tesla started buying blade batteries from BYD for its own cars. Let that sink in. The company Musk laughed at on television was supplying batteries for Teslas. The numbers today are staggering. In 2025, BYD sold 4.6 million electric and hybrid vehicles, 18% of the entire global EV market. In Europe, BYD tripled its sales in just the first 2 months of 2026. In the UK alone, registrations jumped 134% year on year. In Thailand, BYD controls 40% of the electric vehicle market. In Brazil, it took 72% of the EV segment in a single year and built its factory on the site of an old Ford plant the Americans had abandoned. The United States is the only major market where BYD is officially blocked 100% tariffs, national security restrictions, and even American analysts quietly admit that's a holding pattern, not a victory. So far, this is the story you'll find in Harvard Business School case studies and every business magazine cover. Vertical integration, bold strategy, breakthrough technology, the new Toyota, but it's not the full story. The dark side. Here's what the business magazines leave out. From day one, BYD has been playing a game that nobody else on the field was allowed to play. Between 2015 and 2020 alone, BYD received approximately $4.3 billion in direct subsidies from the Chinese state. In 2016, the same year, they poached their star designer from Audi. The subsidies BYD collected from Beijing were larger than the company's entire net profit for that year. Read that again. Without the Chinese government writing checks, BYD was not making money. It was losing it. The support came in every form imaginable. Free land for factories, zero interest loans from state-owned banks, tax breaks on research, guaranteed government contracts for buses, taxis, and public transport across hundreds of Chinese cities, and direct subsidies to buyers, meaning every BYD sold in China came pre-discounted by the state. At its peak, analysts estimate BYD was receiving between $2,000 and $4,000 of public money for every single vehicle rolling off the production line. Now think about what that means for a company like Volkswagen or Toyota. When they calculate the price of a car, they are competing against a rival whose profit margins are calculated on completely different terms. BYD can sell below cost for years and still report a profit because the Chinese government is quietly making up the difference. This is not competition, this is an industrial strategy dressed up as a market. Made in China 2025, the official plan Xi Jinping published a decade ago openly named the automotive sector as one of 10 industries China intended to dominate globally. BYD isn't just a company, it's the instrument of that strategy. And by the time Western governments started talking seriously about tariffs and investigations, Beijing had already begun quietly winding down the most aggressive subsidies. Not because anyone forced them to, because the job was done, the machine was built, the supply chains were locked in, the competition was already on its knees. But there's more, and this is where it gets more uncomfortable. In early 2025, a forensic accounting firm based in Hong Kong called GMT Research, the same firm that first flagged the warning signs at Evergrande before its collapse, published a report that sent shockwaves through financial circles. According to their analysis, BYD's real debt isn't the 42 billion yuan the company officially declares. It's closer to 323 billion yuan, approximately 44 billion US dollars, nearly 8 times higher than reported. Where is the missing debt hidden? In something called supply chain financing. BYD pays its suppliers an average of 275 days after delivery, 9 months. In an industry where the standard payment window is 50 to 60 days, those unpaid invoices technically count as debt, but they don't appear on BYD's official balance sheet. BYD is in effect using its own suppliers as an unpaid bank. And the scale of it, GMT Research noted, is eerily similar to the patterns Evergrande was showing before the entire real estate giant imploded. BYD's response, they pointed to their 154 billion yuan in cash reserves. But analysts asked the simple question back: if you have that much cash, why are you making your suppliers wait 9 months to get paid? BYD has declined to provide a detailed answer. There's another practice that insiders in China know about, but that rarely makes it into English language media. It's called 0-kilometer used cars. At the end of each month, when sales targets come due, BYD dealerships register thousands of brand new cars under the names of shell companies they control, then immediately resell those cars on the second-hand market as used vehicles. On paper, the cars count as new sales. In reality, no real customer ever bought them. Satellite images from 2024 showed rows of BYD vehicles sitting in empty fields across China, slowly collecting dust. A salesman in Guangzhou admitted anonymously that at the end of every month, he was instructed to register 200 to 300 cars under partner companies just to meet the targets. So when BYD says it sold 4.25 million vehicles last year, how many of those were actually sold to human beings who drove them home? The cracks aren't just financial, they're showing up in the real world too. In September 2024, BYD recalled nearly 97,000 vehicles over a steering column defect that could cause short circuits and spontaneous fires, the largest recall in the company's history at that point. Then, in late 2025, another 115,000 vehicles recalled for a separate fault. On Chinese social media, complaints about the Sea Lion SUV radios cutting out after 3 months, GPS showing roads that don't exist, windshield wipers freezing in heavy rain hit nearly 5,000 official filings in a single week. Then came Brazil, and this one is harder to explain away. In December 2024, Brazilian labor authorities raided BYD's factory construction site in Bahia and found 163 Chinese workers in conditions that government inspectors formally described as analogous to slavery. Passports confiscated, 14-hour working days, no rest days, workers unable to leave. The case went all the way to President Lula. By April 2026, just weeks ago, Brazil's labor ministry placed BYD on its official registry of employers found to have subjected workers to slavery-like conditions. BYD was banned from accessing certain types of Brazilian bank loans as a direct result. The company tried to blame the contractor, but Brazilian prosecutors went further, filing a lawsuit alleging human trafficking. And the financial numbers are beginning to wobble in ways that are harder to ignore. Net profits dropped 19% in 2025. In the first quarter of 2026, total sales fell 30% compared to the same period a year earlier. BYD's domestic market share in China contracted from 27% to 17% in just the first 2 months of the year. Even the Chinese government, the same government that funded BYD's rise, publicly warned last year that the price war BYD is leading in China is not sustainable. When Beijing tells its own champion to slow down, something is off. The question, so here is where we are. BYD is still the largest electric vehicle seller on the planet. It is still expanding aggressively across Europe, Latin America, and Southeast Asia. Its technology, the blade battery, the vertical integration model, the plug-in hybrid strategy is genuinely impressive. These are real innovations, not illusions. But BYD also grew inside a system that no Western competitor had access to. It received billions in government subsidies that were never disclosed as such. It carries hidden debts that forensic accountants estimate at 8 times the official figure. It has been credibly accused of inflating its own sales numbers. It has been formally sanctioned for labor abuses in Brazil. Now the question is, which of these two things is BYD really? Is it the Toyota of the 21st century, a company that outworked, outthought, and out-executed the entire Western car industry fair and square? Or is it closer to Evergrande, a company that looks dominant on paper, but is quietly sitting on debts and dependencies that the world hasn't priced in yet? Nobody knows the answer to that question with certainty. The scenario where BYD collapses under its own hidden liabilities is real. So is the scenario where BYD becomes the most dominant automaker in history. And there's a third scenario that's perhaps most likely a messy middle, where BYD remains powerful in China and parts of the global south, while the West gradually closes its doors through tariffs and regulatory barriers. What is certain is this: whatever happens to BYD, specifically, the broader story does not stop here. Beijing is already running the same industrial playbook in semiconductors, pharmaceuticals, aviation, and renewable energy. The car industry was the test case. It worked, and now they're scaling it up. The reason this story matters isn't just about which car brand survives. It's about understanding how the rules of global business have fundamentally changed, and most people in the West haven't caught up to that reality yet. For 100 years, the assumption was that the best product built by the most efficient company won the market. BYD's story, whatever it ultimately turns out to be, has permanently complicated that assumption. Whether you see BYD as a triumph of Chinese engineering or a state-sponsored disruption of the global economy, the story isn't over, not even close. If you want to know which industries are next on Beijing's list, you don't have to guess. They published it themselves. It's called China's 15th Five-Year Plan, and it names exactly which sectors China intends to dominate globally in the years ahead. Drop a comment below. Do you think BYD is the real deal or the biggest financial time bomb in automotive history? I read every single one. And if this is the kind of story you want more of, subscribe, because there are lots more of these coming.